Lena had been on Earth for 3 months now. 3 months of walking among humans, watching them, studying them, all while completely invisible to their eyes. It was not magic that made her invisible, but simple biology. Her species, the Viri, existed on a spectrum of light that human eyes could not detect. To the Viri, this was their greatest advantage in their mission to study other intelligent life forms across the galaxy. Lena was young for a scout, only 22 cycles old. This was her first solo mission, and Earth was fascinating. Humans were loud, chaotic, and emotional, everything her own logical, orderly species was not. She spent her days wandering the streets of the small coastal town of Pineville, following humans as they went about their daily lives. Today, like every day, she sat in the corner of a small coffee shop. The smell of coffee beans filled the air, a scent she had grown to love during her time on Earth. Humans gathered here to talk, work on their devices, or simply stare at their screens. Lena found it was the perfect place to observe human social behavior. Her data recorder, disguised as a small pin on her suit, captured everything. Virish scientists back home would analyze her findings to better understand humans before any official contact was made. This was standard procedure for all potential new species joining the Galactic Union. Same spot again, huh? Lena froze. The voice came from behind her. She didn't turn around. There was no need. No human could see her. It must have been someone talking to another human nearby. I've noticed you sitting there every day for the past 2 weeks. This time the voice was closer, and Lena felt a strange sensation at the back of her neck. Slowly, she turned her head. A human male stood there, looking directly at her. Not past her. Not through her. At her. Lena's heart raced. This was impossible. Her invisibility was biological, not technological. There was no way a human could see her. You look surprised, the human said with a small smile. He was tall with dark hair and eyes that seemed to look right into her. Mind if I join you? Without waiting for an answer, he pulled out the chair across from her and sat down. His coffee cup made a small thud as he placed it on the table between them. My name is Tom. And you're not human, he said quietly, leaning forward. Lena's training had never covered what to do if discovered. This was unprecedented. The Viri had observed 17 different species across the galaxy, and none had ever detected them before. You can see me? Lena finally managed, her voice sounding strange even to her own ears. She rarely spoke out loud on Earth, having no need to communicate with humans. Tom nodded. Yes. Though not exactly in the way you might think. He glanced around to make sure no one was paying attention to him. To anyone else in the cafe, he looked like a man talking to an empty chair. I've always seen things differently, he continued. Doctors called it a rare condition. I see parts of the light spectrum that others can't. Most of the time, it's just annoying, colors look wrong, lights are too bright. But then 3 months ago, I started seeing people that no one else could see. Lena felt a chill run through her body. This human had a genetic mutation that allowed him to see beyond normal human vision ranges. The chances of such a mutation aligning perfectly with Viri visibility were astronomically small. Yet here he was. You're the 5th one I've noticed in town, Tom said. The others are older. They move differently, observe more carefully. But you seem younger. Less practiced. Lena remained silent, mentally reviewing emergency protocols. Should she run? Call for extraction? But curiosity held her in place. Don't worry, Tom said, noticing her tension. I haven't told anyone. Who would believe me? Hey everyone, I can see invisible aliens walking around town. That's a one-way ticket to the psych ward. He took a sip of his coffee, still looking directly at her with those unusual eyes. I just wanted to talk to one of you. To know that I'm not crazy. That what I'm seeing is real. Lena knew she should leave immediately. Contact with locals before official first contact was strictly forbidden. Yet something in the human's expression, a mixture of wonder, relief, and loneliness, made her stay. You're not crazy, she said finally. But you were never meant to see us. Tom smiled, a genuine expression that transformed his face. Yet here we are. And in that moment, Lena realized that her simple observation mission had just become something far more complicated. For the first time in recorded history, a very scout had been discovered. And for the first time since arriving on Earth, Lena felt something unexpected, the thrill of genuine connection with another being. What she didn't know was that this chance encounter would not only change her mission but would ultimately alter the course of relations between humans and the greater galactic community forever. For the next week, Lena broke every rule in the Very Scout Handbook. Each afternoon, she met Tom at the coffee shop. At first, she told herself it was to assess the threat he posed to the mission. If one human could see her, there might be others. This was information her superiors needed. But deep down, Lena knew the truth. She was curious about Tom, just as he was curious about her. So your whole species can naturally bend light around yourselves? Tom asked during their third meeting. He kept his voice low, aware that to everyone else, he appeared to be talking to himself. Not exactly, Lena explained. We don't bend light. Our bodies absorb and emit light at frequencies outside human visual range. It's not something we control, it's just how we are. Tom nodded, fascinated. Like how humans can't see ultraviolet light, but bees can. Similar, yes. Though your ability to see me suggests your eyes detect a much wider range than typical humans. Tom smiled. Lucky genetic mutation, I guess. Though I never thought it was lucky until I saw you. His words made something flutter inside Lena's chest. An unfamiliar feeling. Very were not emotional beings. They valued logic, order, and the collective good. Individual feelings were considered distractions from greater purpose. Yet here she was, experiencing emotions she had no name for. You still haven't told me why you're here, Tom said, breaking into her thoughts. Studying us? Lena hesitated. Sharing mission details with a local was strictly forbidden. Yet Tom already knew so much simply by being able to see her. Yes, she admitted. We study species before making official contact. It helps prevent cultural misunderstandings. So you're like alien anthropologists? That's surprisingly accurate. Tom leaned forward. And what have you learned about humans so far? Lena thought about her reports, clinical observations about human behavior, social structures, and technological capabilities. But what had she really learned? Your contradictions, she said finally. You create beautiful art and terrible weapons. You care deeply for your families yet fight wars against strangers. You're capable of great kindness and extreme cruelty, sometimes in the same day. Tom's smile faded. Not exactly a glowing review. It's not a criticism, Lena said quickly. It's what makes humans fascinating. Very are consistent. Predictable. We follow logical patterns. Humans follow their hearts, even when it makes no sense. Like me talking to an invisible alien even though it might get me locked up in a mental institution? Lena felt that strange flutter again. Yes. Exactly like that. As days passed, their conversations grew longer. Tom told her about his life, his job as a small-town librarian, his struggle growing up with vision that made others think he was making things up, his love of old science fiction books that ironically often featured alien invasions. Lena shared sanitized versions of her experiences, her training as a scout, the many worlds she had studied in simulators before being assigned to Earth, her people's devotion to knowledge. On the 8th day of their meetings, Lena's communicator buzzed against her wrist. A message from her ship AI, scheduled check-in missed. Report status. With a jolt, Lena realized she had missed her daily report for the first time in her mission. She had been so engaged in conversation with Tom that she'd lost track of time. I have to go, she said abruptly, standing up. Tom looked concerned. Everything okay? Yes, I forgot something important. She hesitated, then added, I'll be here tomorrow. As she hurried back to her hidden ship at the edge of town, Lena felt a growing sense of unease. Her mission was to observe, record, and report, not to form connections with the locals. Not to find herself looking forward to conversations with a human. Not to share information about her species. Back in her ship, she stared at the blinking communication panel. She should report the truth, that a human could see her, that her cover was compromised, that the mission parameters had changed. Instead, she sent a standard report. All normal. Observations continuing as planned. No contact with locals. It was her first lie to her superiors. As she completed the transmission, Lena knew it wouldn't be her last. Something had changed inside her, something that had begun the moment Tom had looked directly at her and seen her for what she truly was. What she didn't know was that on the very homeworld, analysts were already noticing subtle anomalies in her data. And Tom wasn't the only human who had begun to notice strange occurrences in the small town of Pineville. 2 weeks into their secret meetings, things began to change. Tom arrived at the coffee shop looking worried, glancing over his shoulder as he sat down across from Lena. "Is everything okay?" Lena asked, noticing his unusual behavior. Tom leaned in, speaking even more quietly than usual. "I think someone's been following me. A man in a dark suit. I've seen him 3 times now." Lena felt a chill run through her. "When did this start?" 3 days ago. At first, I thought I was being paranoid, but yesterday he was taking pictures of the library where I work." Tom ran a hand through his hair. "Do you think, could your people have sent someone else? Someone to check on you?" Lena shook her head. "Very missions are solitary. We don't interfere with each other's work." She paused, considering darker possibilities. "But there are other species in the galaxy who have interests on Earth." "Great," Tom muttered. "So now I might have multiple types of aliens watching me?" "It's more likely to be your own people," Lena said gently. "Humans with government connections who might have detected anomalies. My ship is well hidden and shielded, but it still generates energy signatures." Fear flickered across Tom's face. "What would they do if they found you?" Lena had studied enough of human history to know the answer. Dissection. Experimentation. Imprisonment at the very least. Humans feared what they didn't understand, and their governments had a long history of hiding the truth from their own people. "Nothing good," she admitted. "For either of us." Tom reached across the table, his hand stopping just short of touching hers. In the 2 weeks they'd known each other, they had never made physical contact. Lena wasn't sure what would happen if they did, if her alien biology would be compatible with human touch. "We need to be more careful," he said. "Maybe we should stop meeting for a while." The thought sent an unexpected pang through Lena's chest. These daily conversations had become important to her, more important than she wanted to admit. "That might be wise," she agreed reluctantly. "I should focus on my mission anyway. I've been distracted." Tom smiled slightly. "By a simple human librarian? I'm flattered." Before Lena could respond, the door to the coffee shop opened, and Tom's face went pale. Without turning around, Lena knew something was wrong. "It's him," Tom whispered. "The man who's been following me." "Don't look at me," Lena instructed quickly. "Act normal. Read something on your phone." Tom pulled out his device, pretending to be absorbed in it while Lena watched the newcomer. He was indeed wearing a dark suit, with the stiff posture of someone with military training. He ordered coffee but seemed more interested in surveying the room than in his drink. His gaze lingered on Tom for several seconds too long to be casual. "He's definitely watching you," Lena confirmed quietly. "But he can't see me. We need to." She stopped mid-sentence as the man pulled out a small device from his pocket. It looked like an ordinary phone, but when he aimed it in their direction, it emitted a faint high-pitched sound that only Lena could hear. Her blood ran cold. That was no human technology. "We need to leave. Now." Her voice was urgent. "That device he's holding, it's not from Earth. It's a Redulian scanner. It can't detect me visually, but it can pick up the unique molecular vibrations of non-Earth biology." Tom's eyes widened. "So he's not human?" "No, he is human. But he's working with non-humans. The Redulians are traders and information brokers. If they've detected a Viri presence on Earth. She didn't finish the sentence. The implications were too serious. The Galactic Union had strict protocols about first contact with developing worlds. If the Redulians were bypassing those protocols, selling advanced technology to certain humans in exchange for information or resources, it violated every treaty in the sector. "I'll create a distraction," Tom said firmly. "When I do, go out the back door." "What?" "No! They'll know you're involved." Tom's face was set with determination. "Better me than you. They can't prove anything. I'm just a guy who talks to himself in a coffee shop." His eyes met hers. "Where can I find you later?" Lena hesitated, then made a decision that went against all her training. "The old lighthouse on the North Point. Tonight at midnight." Tom nodded, then suddenly stood up, bumping into a woman carrying a full tray of drinks. The resulting crash and splash of hot coffee created exactly the chaos they needed. In the confusion, Lena slipped out the back door, her mind racing. Everything had just become much more complicated, and much more dangerous. The old lighthouse stood tall against the night sky, its beacon long extinguished. Local stories claimed it was haunted, a convenient myth that kept most people away. Lena had discovered it during her first week on Earth and often used it as a quiet place to compose her reports. Tonight, it would serve a different purpose. She arrived early, climbing the spiral staircase to the observation deck. From there, she could see the winding road that led up to the lighthouse. If anyone followed Tom, she would spot them. Her communicator buzzed again. Another message from her ship's AI, command requesting direct communication. Urgent. Lena's heart beat faster. A direct communication request from her superiors was rare, and never good news. Had they discovered her secret meetings with Tom? Or worse, had they detected the Redulian presence in the area? She silenced the communicator. Whatever command wanted, it would have to wait. Right now, Tom's safety was her priority, a thought that would have shocked her just 3 weeks ago. At precisely midnight, she saw a figure moving up the path toward the lighthouse. Even from a distance, she recognized Tom's walk. He appeared to be alone. Lena hurried down to meet him at the entrance. "Were you followed?" she asked as soon as he stepped inside. Tom shook his head, slightly out of breath from the climb. "I don't think so. I took a roundabout way, through the woods behind my house." He looked around the abandoned lighthouse. "Nice place. Very dramatic." Despite the tension, Lena found herself smiling. Tom's ability to find humor in dangerous situations was strangely comforting. "What happened after I left?" she asked. Tom leaned against the wall. "The suit guy helped clean up the mess, very polite about it all. But he kept watching me. When I left, he followed me for about 6 blocks before I lost him in the farmer's market. He suspects you can see me," Lena said, pacing the small circular room. "The question is, what will he do about it? And who exactly is he working for?" Tom added. "You mentioned these Redulians. Why would they be interested in you? Or me?" Lena stopped pacing. "The Redulians are opportunists. If they've detected Viri presence on Earth, they might be trying to interfere with our mission." She hesitated before adding. "Or they might be trying to establish their own influence here before official first contact is made." Tom's expression grew serious. "You mean they're trying to make some kind of deal with certain humans? Giving them advanced technology?" "It wouldn't be the first time," Lena admitted. "The Galactic Union has strict laws about technology transfer to developing worlds, but the Redulians don't always follow those laws." "And what happens if they succeed?" Lena didn't answer immediately. The implications were too disturbing. Nothing good for Earth. Imagine giving highly advanced weapons to just one nation on your planet. The power imbalance would be catastrophic. Tom ran a hand through his hair, a gesture Lena had come to recognize as a sign of his distress. "So what do we do?" "We need proof," Lena said firmly. "If I can confirm Redulian interference, I can report it to the Union. They would send agents to stop it. And how do we get this proof?" I need to find out who that man is working for and what technology they've already acquired. Tom raised an eyebrow. Breaking and entering? Hacking? Sounds dangerous. It is. Which is why you should stay out of it. Not a chance, Tom said immediately. I'm already involved. Besides, you can't exactly walk into government buildings or corporate headquarters without being seen. I'm invisible to everyone but you, Lena reminded him. But doors still need to be opened. Security cameras will show floating keycards and doors opening by themselves. You need someone visible to help you blend in. Lena knew he was right, though she hated putting him in more danger. Do you know anything about the man who was following you? Any clues about who he works for? Tom thought for a moment. Actually, yes. When he helped clean up the coffee spill, I saw a logo on his notebook. It looked like a blue triangle with some kind of bird inside it. And I heard someone call him Agent Reed. Lena's communicator buzzed again, more insistently this time. She glanced at it with growing concern. I need to return to my ship soon. Command is trying to contact me directly. If I ignore them much longer, they might send someone to check on me. What will you tell them? As little as possible. She looked at Tom, feeling that now familiar flutter in her chest. Can you find out anything about that logo or this Agent Reed? Tom nodded. The library has resources. I can do some research without raising suspicions. Be careful, Lena warned. If they're watching you. I know. Tom stepped closer to her, close enough that she could feel the warmth radiating from his body. When will I see you again? Tomorrow night. Same place, same time? What neither of them realized was that high above Earth's atmosphere, a very command ship had just dropped out of faster-than-light travel, responding to anomalies in Lena's transmission patterns. And in a secret facility 30 miles away, Agent Reed was reporting his findings to his superiors and their non-human allies. Lena stood frozen before the holographic image of Commander Krell, her superior officer. His stern expression told her everything she needed to know before he even spoke. Scout Lena, your mission parameters have been compromised, he stated coldly. Our monitors detected unusual patterns in your transmissions. Explain. Sir, I've discovered evidence of Redulian interference on Earth, Lena replied, deciding that a partial truth was better than an outright lie. They've established contact with certain humans and are providing prohibited technology. Commander Krell's eyes narrowed. And how did you discover this without violating your own non-interference protocols? Lena hesitated just long enough for the commander to note it. There's more, he said. It wasn't a question. Our sensors detected your presence near a human multiple times over the past 3 weeks. The same human. Explain. There was no point denying it now. Sir, I've encountered a human with a genetic mutation that allows him to see our species. He detected me on his own, without technology. The commander's expression shifted from stern to alarmed. This changes everything. The entire mission is compromised. We're initiating extraction protocol. Return to your ship immediately. But sir, the Redulians. A Union enforcement team is already en route to deal with the Redulian situation. Your priority is extraction. The human who can see you will be handled. Ice ran through Lena's veins. She knew what handled meant. Memory alteration at best, something worse at worst. Commander, with respect, this human has provided valuable assistance. He helped identify the Redulian agents. He poses no threat to our mission. Your judgment is compromised, Scout. Commander Krell replied coldly. Report to your ship within 1 Earth hour for immediate extraction. That's an order. The hologram disappeared, leaving Lena alone in her small ship. She had 1 hour to make the most important decision of her life. Tom was waiting at the lighthouse as planned, but his face fell when he saw Lena's expression. What happened? He asked. My superiors know everything, Lena said, her voice tight. They're extracting me tonight. And they plan to handle you, alter your memories so you forget me. Tom's face paled. Can they do that? Yes. Union agents will be here within hours. She stepped closer to him. Tom, I need to leave. Now. But I couldn't go without warning you. So this is goodbye? Tom's voice cracked slightly. Lena had spent the past hour thinking about her options. Returning to her people meant following their rules forever, never questioning, never feeling the emotions she'd discovered on Earth. Staying meant becoming an exile, cut off from her kind. But looking at Tom now, she realized there was no real choice at all. No, she said firmly. I'm not going back. But I need your help. Hope flickered across Tom's face. Anything. The Redulians and their human allies are still out there. If we can expose them before the Union agents arrive, we might be able to negotiate. Negotiate what? A different kind of first contact. One that includes you. Lena took a deep breath. I downloaded all the information from my ship's computer. It shows that the organization Agent Reed works for has a facility 10 miles north of town. That's where they're testing the Redulian technology. Tom nodded, determination replacing fear in his eyes. Then that's where we need to go. 2 hours later, they stood on a hill overlooking a nondescript government building surrounded by high fences. Using Lena's scanner, they had documented everything: the energy signatures of Redulian weapons, the illegal technology transfers, the plans for using alien tech to gain global military advantage. It's all transmitting to Union headquarters now, Lena said, watching the data stream from her communicator. They'll have no choice but to intervene directly. What happens next? Tom asked, his shoulder brushing against hers. Official first contact. The Union will bypass the corrupt officials and address humanity directly. She turned to face him. It will change everything for your world. What about us? Tom's question hung in the air between them. Before Lena could answer, the night sky blazed with light. A massive ship, far larger than Lena's scout vessel, descended through the clouds, its hull gleaming in the moonlight. The very command ship had arrived. At the same moment, alarms began blaring from the facility below. Their transmission had been detected. We need to go, Lena said urgently, grabbing Tom's hand without thinking. It was the first time they had touched, her blue-tinged skin against his human hand. There was no shock, no strange reaction, just the simple warmth of connection. Tom looked up at the descending ship, then back at Lena. Whatever happens next, I'm glad I could see you when no one else could. Lena smiled, squeezing his hand. And I'm glad you proved me wrong about humans. Your unpredictability might just save both our worlds. As Union peacekeepers surrounded the facility, and the night lit up with the beginnings of humanity's true first contact, Lena and Tom stood together, visible to each other in every way that mattered. The invisible alien and the human who saw her had just changed the course of galactic history.